What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Alex Cuesta Show. How is everybody doing out there on this Wednesday, November 22nd of 2023 for episode 100 of the show? Yeah, 100 episodes. And for some reason, David has been here for a majority of them. Why?
I forgot it was episode 100, honestly. It's 100 episodes. It's way too damn long to be speaking about things. Just came off of playing some Lethal Company, and we'll probably play some more right after the show.
Nobody knows what that is, Dave.
You'd be surprised.
So before we get jumping in, like, share, follow, subscribe, rate 5 stars, Spotify and iTunes. Spread this word of mouth. Go find us on the socials at the Alex Cuesta Show. And I got to mention, tomorrow is Turkey Day, Thanksgiving. So I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving out there, whether you celebrate or not. If you're in America, Thanksgiving means something. So just remember, everyone, when you're out there, it's, getting together with your family and friends. That's awesome. But just remember, it was about basically the Pilgrims and Native Americans coming together, helping out each other and just being thankful. And it started off a lot more religious than it is now. But in the end, just don't take it for granted. Don't take it as just a day off from work or a day off from school, because, a lot of people don't have days off from work either. Like, my wife, she's working tomorrow. But I digress. Enjoy the day. Have fun. If you're going out tonight, which you won't hear this until tomorrow. So, if you got arrested tonight, don't do that. That would suck. Don't do that. Don't drink and drive. Don't be a dumbass. Anyway, last week we had no guest. David and I just riffed and talked about a bunch of stuff. And this week, to celebrate episode 100, our guest is nobody again. It's just Dave and I. We're just going to talk some more. Pretty fitting that Dave and I will do episode 100 on our lonesome, having some fun, talking about a whole bunch of things. But Dave, somebody that we both enjoy, Eric July, Ripaverse, he has let out a new comic, Alpha Core #1, the campaign, reached $1 million. This is the third straight campaign that has reached $1 million. ISOM 1 and 2 both got $1 million apiece. Dave, this is the way you start to kick the doors in. This is the way it's done. You do good comics, you make good campaigns, and here it is. Are you going to get Alpha Core?
Yeah, reach 10,000 buyers as well. I probably will. Usually I wait until the end of these campaigns to go and get something, because sometimes they add something or whatever if I'm going to get from a campaign, but I most likely will.
Yeah, there's a pretty solid bundle going on right now. You can get ISOM 1 and Alpha Core 1 for $35, and it's the ISOM cover C. Alpha Core, I think it's cover A, B, C, or D. You could choose. Mm-hmm. Or you can get the book bundle where you get ISOM 1, ISOM 2, and Alpha Core 1. So you can get all caught up, and that's $65. So pretty good deals. They're all graphic novel length. So you're getting 300 plus pages of content there. So I recommend, if you like comics, if you're a nerd, go out and get it, because Rip is doing some good stuff over there. They have some great people working on this stuff there. So definitely go check out Alpha Core, check out ISOM and things like that. But Dave, let's jump into our show. I think we're gonna be nauseated for a little bit. We're gonna have some fun, and then I don't know how the last one's gonna go. But we're gonna start off talking about the new Disney film, which, Dave, back in the day, that used to mean something good, right? Back in the day, the new Disney film coming out used to be like, oh, gonna be decent either way. You always thought it was gonna be okay. It was never gonna suck. It might not be your cup of tea, but You can appreciate the work and everything and the story. The new one is named Wish. And when I tell you, Dave, just by the trailer, I thought it looked fucking stupid. I was just not a fan. Just a quick synopsis. This little girl is I'm just gonna give you a mini, what I understand. David, you might have more, but basically this little girl lives in a kingdom that her dad created for people to live fair and free, and he has the ability to grant wishes.
If I remember correctly, it's not her dad.
It's not her dad? No, maybe not. But it's not her dad. It might not be her dad, but the king can grant wishes to the people, and she believes that everyone should have their wishes granted, and he's like, no, not everyone needs their wishes granted. And she decides to become his apprentice, and before that steals his ability and grants everybody's wishes, and it looks like it becomes a clusterfuck of stupid from there. Dave, I haven't seen much outside of the trailer. You've seen some reviews and stuff. What are people saying about this wonderful tale?
Yeah. And I wouldn't even say it's reviews. I would say I've seen people like just describe what happens in the movie.
Yeah.
And it just seems a bit silly, and it just doesn't seem like Disney quality, honestly. Mainly it's just about, like you said, the guy create a kingdom where basically everyone lives happily, and he grants people's wishes, but he doesn't grant all of their wishes. Like, most of the wishes aren't going to be granted. And she has an issue with that. And I don't think she steals his powers, but she like wishes upon a star and it comes down or whatever. But it just seems weird. And at the end, it tries to connect them to like every other Disney movie somehow, which I'm not going to go into it. But I don't know. It just seemed, for 100 years of Disney, it seems very lackluster.
And, as I was looking into it more, as I was looking like, at the thing, and maybe this is me reading into it too much, but it really seems to be not only like a little bit of like a communist message, which I'm not surprised. Like, everyone gets everything they want and everyone lives happily and no one has to actually work for anything. They could just hope it's there and it happens. But it also seems to be, in a way, anti-Christian, right? Because the king grants wishes, grants prayers, and doesn't always grant everybody's prayers, everybody's wishes, because not everybody needs them answered. Some of them are trivial. Some of them are not necessary. Some things people should work for and they should get. Now, willing to grant wishes for people that actually need it and in order to maintain their well-being and things like that. But sometimes life just happens, and the king understands that. And that is why he was in charge of granting these wishes. And that's kind of the way God works, right? If you believe in God, you could pray to God all you want. Sometimes God hears your prayers and acts. God always hears them, but doesn't always act, right? And this just kind of seems like, oh, well, reject that, right? Because that's wrong. Everybody should always have what they want, and nothing can ever go wrong. And what do we know about human nature, Dave? Do you grant everybody's wish? Shit's always going to go wrong. It's never going to work because not everybody sees things the same way. Not everybody has the same sense of morality or a sense of importance. So it's like what one person is wishing could be a major detriment to somebody else. And if you're granting everybody's wish, then you're causing a whole lot of issues. So do you see kind of the anti-Christian thing that I'm seeing?
Somewhat. I mean, I'm just seeing just a lack of creative writing. I don't know. It doesn't seem like they really had much of an idea. I don't know if they necessarily made this for 100 years of Disney, because it is called Wish, when you wish upon a star. It's the whole point of Disney. So they might have tried to make this specifically for Disney's 100 year. I'm going to run with that and say that they actually did a piss poor job in doing that, because just the whole premise, like you said, where if you have everything granted for you, that wasn't the point of Disney. The point of Disney is that when you wish upon a star, something can happen, but you're not going to get everything to happen. That's why in most of the old Disney movies, a lot of these things come together by very slim margins. A lot of those plot points wouldn't really work together unless you had hope. Yeah. And it wasn't just going to give you everything in these old Disney movies. But in this one, it seems like, she wants, and the whole town, honestly, wants it to be that they get all of their wishes to come true. And I don't know if by the end of the movie, maybe it is a tale that's learned where you can't have it happen that way. But seeing as how the villain himself has that stance, I don't know if they're really going to rectify it that way.
And can we have a conversation about the animation, Dave? What's going on with Disney's animation?
I don't know.
This looks like they're attempting to kind of be Pixar-esque, but it's very jagged. It's very rigid. It's not very fluent. And it's like, honestly, since like Atlantis and Hercules and things like that, Disney's animation has not been, so it's had some good ones. Don't get me wrong. Some of them have been good and well done. But for the overall quality, like, this switch seems unnecessary for what they're doing. And maybe if this is what we could look forward to, if this is like the start of like their new style, I mean, it's not, the shading doesn't look great. It kind of looks like, I think you said it to me a little bit ago. It looks like it's from a Disney short. Like it was like the animators like making a short and trying to make something fun. But this is a full length movie. And I do have to say, it only has a 6 out of 10 IMDb, 47% Rotten Tomatoes. So, and that's the Rotten Tomatoes, I believe, is a critic score. So that's not great. The audience score gave it 82% so far. So, but I mean,
the thing about Disney Pixar is that, I mean, me and you and a bunch of other people probably are more used to hearkening back to like Toy Story and other these classics. And obviously people can't sustain that all the time. Like those are high-end movies. The fact that Toy Story animation still stands up to this day is incredible. That's how much effort and how well they made that movie. But that doesn't mean it's always going to be that good. It just feels like for, yet again, 100 years of Disney, it should be better than what it looks like.
And DreamWorks is kind of kicking their ass. Like Bad Guys looked great, and like all those like those types of things have looked fantastic. So I much prefer what they're doing. Puss in Boots was incredible. So I much prefer what they're doing and what they're trying with a lot of like kind of like the stop animation like type of thing that they've been doing. And I feel like
actually, if you want a movie about wishes, that's a genuinely great story about wishes. Puss in Boots: The Last Wish is absolutely incredible. And it's one of those movies where as a parent, as an adult, you could watch it and say, wow, that's genuinely a great movie.
And how many more times is Disney going to go to the well with the rebellious child trope? I mean, we've seen it a lot, right? Mm-hmm. But let's just talk about their last few movies. Wish, obviously. Elemental, it's the little fire, whatever, bringing home the water boy. And that's like rebellious against her family. And then you have Turning Red or whatever it was, where she's against the tiger mom, which, I mean, a trope in itself. To talk about a woke company and then bringing in tiger moms is absolutely hilarious, the irony there. And it's like, we've seen this before, right? But Disney's going in the direction of, it used to be that the child would rebel. They would rebel against the parent and whatever the parent wanted, and then eventually would come around to see why the parent was doing what they were doing, right? Because Ariel, the Little Mermaid, main rebellious one, right? She goes against it. She goes to the world of the surface, gets tricked by Ursula. And as you see it, you're watching it. As a kid, you're kind of rooting for Ariel, right? But then as you get to more an adult, you're like, Triton was right about everything. She was absolutely naive. She had no business. And the thing is, in the end, she does come around.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, she comes around, but Triton also comes around to the point of not every human is evil. Yes. Like you can try a little bit, but there's always going to be danger. So it's like the rebellious child learns why their parent is the way they are and understands their position, but they also are able to show that while being set in your ways, sometimes people need to go out and find out what's actually happening out there and whether or not they can break the mold in some way. It's a very, I mean, it's a simple story.
A coming of age story.
Yeah, it's a simple coming of age story, and it's just one that's been throughout history.
And which we're not seeing anymore, right? Because in Turning Red, she's right, mom is wrong, period. And that it comes out, the mom has to come down to her level completely, and that's it. And even in, Elemental, I didn't watch, but it seems like, she forces her family to accept him and whatever. And now in this one with Wish, the rebellious kid, I don't know how this one ends up, but apparently with the ending, she turns into a fucking fairy godmother. The fairy godmother is kind of like one of the core members of like the lore of Disney. It's like you have the fairy godmother, you have Jiminy Cricket, you have the star, like you have a few things that are just Disney, right? So she becomes that. Apparently the king becomes the mirror on the wall, which
I wasn't going to mention any of this, but
I'm mentioning it because it's stupid. The Asha has a friend named Star. Star becomes
the star that is the one that comes down when she wishes becomes the star.
It's kind of like for me that tells me that nothing seems to be learned. there, if she gets the ability to just grant things, maybe she does mature. Maybe she understands the king is like, here, I'm giving the power to you now that you've learned. You've seen your ways. I'm cool. I'm out. I don't know. Disney hasn't been going that way. But to me, the animation doesn't look great. I'm tired of this story trope. Am I going to get dragged to probably see this because I have 2 young kids? Probably. Am I going to hate it? I mean, I'm going to go in there not happy, so probably not going to like it. But we'll see. I will try to be open-minded about it, Dave. I will attempt.
You should.
That's all that you should. I shouldn't. Should I just
should bar it? Bar it completely. Bar
it. Just be that parent.
Yeah.
Would that be banning movies now? Would I be like going down as like somebody banning movies?
Yes.
I mean, I'm here for it. So we're going to go on to our next topic, Dave. And we're going to go from something that seems kind of terrible to something that is absolutely fucking epic. So Argentina has elected a libertarian madman to be their president. Javier Milei. I mean, he is everything. You know, we saw whatchamacall in Italy. What's her face?
Giorgia Meloni, which she's turned out to be not very great.
Turned out to be a globalist, but he came in, sounded very similar to kind of the, really strong takes and really good, stances and everything. And I got to say, if the first part of what he's done as president tells me anything, he may deliver. So one of the things about him is a lot of people are comparing him to Trump. And Trump has endorsed him. Bolsonaro's endorsed him. He's had some good endorsements. He is not like Trump. He is a libertarian, an anarcho-libertarian. The guy hates government. He really just fucking hates government.
Yeah.
Now, I want to play something, one of the most famous clips that you will get coming from this man. And it's him talking about the ministries, and if you're an American, I guess it would kind of be like the bureaus or like the 3-letter agencies, the agencies that we have. Yeah. It would be like eliminating those agencies and just I'll translate all the ones he wants to eliminate after, but just listen to this madman as he is screaming about what he is going to do. This was during his campaign here.
Turismo y deporte, afuera. Ministerio de Cultura, afuera. Ministerio de Ambiente y Desarrollo Sostenible, afuera. Ministerio de las Mujeres y Género y Diversidad, afuera. Ministerio de Obras Públicas, afuera. Aunque te resistas. Ministerio de Ciencia y Tecnología e Innovación, afuera. Ministerio de Trabajo, Empleo y Seguridad Social, afuera. Ministerio de Educación, Adoctrinamiento, afuera. Ministerio de Transporte, afuera. Ministerio de Salud, afuera. Ministerio de Desarrollo Social, afuera. Se acabó el curro de la política. ¡Viva la libertad, carajo!
He is an absolute madman, and I absolutely love it. So I'll just explain what the video was. So
explain what he's saying.
So it was him. There was a board right in front of him, and it's like Velcroed, like little like words on it of all the ministries. And he's going by one, and afuera means out. So he's naming the ministries and ripping them off the board, saying they're out. So I'm just going to go down the line. He goes with Ministry of Sports and Tourism's gone. Ministry of Culture is gone. Ministry of Environment and Sustainable Development. That's going to get him in trouble with the UN because that's their Marxist goals, the Sustainable Development Goals. He's saying they're gone. Ministry of Women, Genders, and Diversity. His first day or second day, he already said within 21 days that ministry is gone officially. So he's going through. So Women, Genders, and Diversity out. Ministry of Public Works, afuera. Ministry of Science, Technology, and Innovation, afuera. Ministry of Labor, Employment, and Social Security, afuera. Ministry of Education, which he also says is indoctrination, afuera. Ministry of Transport, Ministry of Health, and Ministry of Social Development, afuera, afuera, afuera. So that he names about 11 agencies, and then he goes down. He's like, Ministry of Justice, Ministry of Defense, like very few. He has like 6 agencies left or ministries left that he wants. So he's awesome. What do you think of Javier Milei, Dave?
I love how absolutely crazy he is. And this is what you expect. Look, Argentina has been under, I think it's fair to say, socialist rule for a very long time.
125% inflation.
Yes. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's been under socialist rule for a long time, 125% inflation. It's having a bad time. So when you're having that bad of a time, you get someone who's as outrageous as Milei and as an ANCAP as Milei. You're like, yeah, why not? Let's ride this. Let's see what happens here. Now, I don't know if he's going to go through with everything he says he's going to go through with But if he even goes through with a quarter or half of it, we'll see what happens. This is a great experiment to really see what can happen when you cut all of these things like he wants to. And I mean, we saw what happened in El Salvador, where you just arrest the people who are doing crimes. Things get a little better. So if in Argentina he's just cutting all these departments, and maybe their budget gets a little bit better, maybe they can have a sustainable country that's able to, I don't know, make some money, then maybe Argentina votes him in again. We have no idea what is going to happen from here until years from now. We have no idea what outside pressure might happen to him. We have no idea whether or not any of his policies will work. But I'm interested to see what's going to happen, especially when the country had really nowhere else to go but to go with him. And I love it. I love that they went with it.
And there were a few contenders outside, before the runoff and everything. And each and every single person that dropped out threw all their support behind Milei, told all of their people. And he won, I think, by like 8 points, like 56 to or 54 to 46. So it was like a pretty substantial shellacking there. It was a very much a mandate given to him to do these sort of things. Now, he has some things that, he wants to get onto the American dollar, get rid of the Argentinian peso. But this is with stabilizing and then going to Bitcoin. His plan is to stabilize with the American dollar and then switch to Bitcoin, which we saw how it worked with El Salvador. And Bitcoin actually got a big jump when Milei took office, because he's been a proprietor of somebody that, believes in Bitcoin. And like you said, they've been suffering. They've been under socialist rule. Now, anyone that's a history person, Argentina was a place during the Reagan time that people believed could potentially enter into superpower. They were doing really well. They had, a strong economy. They had a lot of resources, and they were moving. And like everything else that the socialists touch, that communist and Marxist touch, they got in and fucked everything up. And we'll see what he could do. And the thing with me, Dave, libertarians also scare the shit out of me, because to me, libertarians are like one fraction away from Marxists. They really are, because they go so far in a lot of their shit that they become very controlling in a lot of ways. In the ways that some of them speak, and maybe this is just like the left libertarians that are just crazy like this, but they want so little control that they want to force you into their ideas of little control. And then they start to become, if you don't agree with them, they are very forceful about how and why you should agree with them. They're not all Michael Malice. They're not all, your typical, they're not all Larry Sharp and Dave Smith. There are very much libertarians that actually scare the shit out of me. When I hear them speak and when I hear some of the things they say, I'm like, this is very groupthink, and they get forced into that bubble.
So I think you're mainly talking about the left libertarians. Those libertarians, I really don't see. I don't try to see very much of. You're talking about the libertarians I try to stay away from. But no, he doesn't seem like one of those guys. No. He seems like one of those guys that's just going to be like, okay, I'm cutting everything because all this shit is just swallowing up our economy.
Michael Malice and Dave Smith would be like, become an Argentinian guy. Maybe that's him.
Yeah, basically. But that's what he seems like. He seems like someone that's not really. He's not going to mandate you not care. Basically, he's just going to say, look, I'm getting all the albatross off all your necks. I'm trying to make everything breathe again in Argentina, so we're able to not be in 125% inflation. Like that's what he's trying. At least seems like what he's trying to do.
So when is the first assassination attempt? That is my question, because and it's not going to be
already tried,
and it's not going to be from anyone within Argentina. That's the thing. It is going to be from outside sources. Because again, let's talk about some of the places. The Ministry of Environment and Sustainable Development. The UN has Sustainable Development Goals. Was it 27 or something like that? 17?
I can't remember.
It's one of those, and that is very much in line with what the World Economic Forum wants and things like that. And they've been trying to get this into governments, and eliminating that takes away some of their power. And that's telling them that Argentina is not going to play the global game anymore. And that makes sense. For a libertarian, libertarians do not want global shit. They want to stay in-house. They want small government. They understand trade and the necessity of that. But outside of that, kick rocks. He's actively getting rid of the Ministry of Women, Genders, and Diversity. Again, completely and totally against what a lot of these Marxists want, with the critical theories, and they couple it in, right, with women, genders, and diversity. Mm-hmm. None of the three have anything to do with each other. None of them at all. So it's like, women are their own thing. Genders, there's two of them, fuck off. And diversity is not at all what people think. So it's like, he's doing these types of things. And then I love seeing the Ministry of Labor, Employment, and Social Security gone. We don't need a Ministry of Labor. And I wish that we would do away with a lot of these things. Ministry of Education, gone. That could be out too. And it's like, I like where he is with a lot of this stuff. Social development. What the hell is that, right? Ministry of Social Development. What exactly is that? So I think it's in the right direction. Again, I'm happy he's getting rid of the women, genders, and diversity. It might be the easiest one to get rid of, right? Because it's like the most fringe. Yep. Let's see as he starts to get into culture. Let's see as he starts to get into labor and, public works and things like that, where, you're going to hear them cry that he's getting rid of jobs and things like that and blah, 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 blah. And so I'm excited. And this is a good measuring stick to see that if a democracy that has been so built up with public offices and public things can be stripped like this, and if it could still function, or is the machine that intertwined that it will break very quickly? And you know what? Again, if you're an anarcho-libertarian, if it breaks, fucking great, right? Like there's a win-win for him. If he does this and it all crumbles, then guys like him win anyway. So I'm actually excited to see. Dave, do you have a prediction for how Argentina is going to go?
I think it actually goes surprisingly well. I think Milei actually does things that people like, and there's going to be a lot of negative press about it.
Yes.
I think that's exactly what's going to happen. I don't think that things are so intertwined, that Argentina is so held up by these public relations and all these ministries, that getting rid of them is actually going to do that much to it. I think a lot of it's faux sophistication on their part and faux construction on their part, where it's just like, oh, if you get rid of this, it might harm this. It most likely doesn't. These things most likely don't happen. And if they do happen, it's a short-term harm, but long-term better rebuilding on what needs to happen that makes it not government related. So I actually think things go in the right direction for Argentina and people and journos most affected on that one.
Well, 100%. If anyone listened to Lotus Eaters today, journos can all kick rocks. Yeah. But, there's a question. How important, so say Donald Trump gets back in office and say Milei is still there. How important can these two countries be to each other with all the resources and all the ability Argentina has to enter in and potentially be like South America's biggest country? Brazil right now has that mantle, but I mean, this could be massive in terms of also a buffer to some of the other communist shit that goes on down there and, socialist stuff. So how important can, a relationship, if Donald Trump can get back in, or any conservative fact, even if it's Ron DeSantis or anyone, if it's not Nikki Haley, she's going to bomb them. But if it's like someone that has a half a brain, I feel like this could be ridiculously important.
Yeah, Milei loves Trump. So, in fact, he said that the only thing Trump's done wrong is he hasn't doubled down on his stuff. So, Milei really loves Trump, but it could be a good relationship. Really, the relationship between America and Argentina, I think, would be fine. I don't like. Yeah, sure, it might boost some things between us, whatever. But I think mainly if things go well in Argentina, I think a lot of South American countries look at that and say, well, at least the people there look at that and say, well, why don't we get someone in like him? So I think it's more of a domino effect to the surrounding countries and other countries that will look at Argentina. And if they see things go correctly, then they'll say, well, maybe we could try something like that.
And, lastly, before we jump into the thing, Dave, I have loved the fact that there is a meme going around that Milei is sharing himself of him as a Super Saiyan. They are calling him Goku. He is the champion of good, the defender of the free, the peaceful, and fighter of evil. It is absolutely fantastic that he is leaning into the meme.
Yeah.
And again, very Donald Trump-esque, right? Because what's one of the biggest things that Donald Trump gets ripped for? Oh, he does the NFTs, or he'll repost like things of him being ripped and doing all. It's like he understands that this is just nonsense, but it's fun. And if you make yourself also seem fun and seem more down to earth and more, you don't actually have to be.
Yeah.
People just like the fact that you're willing to get down to their level.
Yep.
And the fact that he was sharing like the Super Saiyan meme and things like that and like diving into Goku. And again, this makes sense in South America because Dragon Ball Z is absolutely fucking massive in South America. If you're a Dragon Ball person, you know, growing up in our generation, especially my age.
To be fair, Dragon Ball Z is absolutely massive everywhere.
But in South America, I think the biggest demographic 100%. Outside of Japan is South America. Yeah. Like it's not even us in the United States. It is South America because they freaking love their Dragon Ball Z. So it would make sense that he would know the meme and that he would lean into the meme because popular with his people. So why not do it? So high hopes for Javier Milei. You know, that alt-right bigot that he is. I can't wait to see what he does to make Argentina thriving and how leftists will say it's evil. That Argentinian people can eat food.
Make Argentina great again.
Make Argentina great. My God. What would that be? It's quite literally MAGA. Yeah.
MAGA.
Oh my God. He should seriously adopt MAGA and he should make like a MAGA movement as well.
I'm pretty sure Trump put out on Truth, make Argentina great again.
Did he really?
Yeah,
so I think he already handed him MAGA? That's incredible. I love it. Again, Trump understanding and leaning into the meme. Like, this makes all the sense. So, Dave, lastly, this is your topic. I want to let you take control of this one.
Yeah, lastly, I just want to talk about gaming. Mainly our history with gaming and where it is now. Obviously, I'm more into gaming now than you are.
Yeah.
So I'll take control more of that. But I do want to ask you, like, your history with gaming. Where did you start off? And what would you say your favorite times when gaming and maybe where you are now and kind of what you think of gaming now from an outside perspective of not really knowing that much.
Yeah. So
go ahead.
Where I started off. So first time I really interacted with any games was our cousin Danny. He's 8 years older than us, going over his house. He had the Super NES. So yeah, I'm fucking old.
The SNES.
And I don't know exactly what he was playing. I think it might have been like a Zelda game or something like that. But he was playing. That was my first time. And I'm pretty sure I sat down. He let me like play a little because Danny was always good like that.
Yeah.
And then from there, it was Sega, Game Gear, Game Boy, and those systems. And the Sega, I played the shit out of Sonic, but they also had some ridiculously good games. Toe Jam and Earl, the Ren and Stimpy games, Space Harrier, Last Battle, which I found out later in my life was based on the North Star. So I was already an anime nerd before I even knew I was. But it was, you know, Sega was my system. I loved all the Sonic games and things like that. And it was difficult, but the difficulty didn't stop me from wanting to play it. There were no saves. Very few games like Zelda had saves, Pokemon had saves, but typically on Sega, which was the system I focused on, I didn't have Nintendo. You couldn't save games. I think maybe like a few. I think maybe Toe Jam and Earl might have, or Ren and Stimpy might have had, but I don't know. But most of them didn't. So you would have to play and try and run through and win a game. And it would be like, you never got tired of playing the same round over and over again. You got used to, and you would like Sonic. I can tell you Emerald Hill Zone like the back of my fucking hand. Like it is so simple. And I remember it. And then like the Game Shark came around and I never really Game Genie and all that. And Game Shark was the first one.
Yes.
You would plug your Game Shark in, put the game in the Game Shark, and you would have all the codes. And I would go over to my friend's house and they would have it. And then we'd become supersonic. But then you also found out there was something called debug mode. And like there were all these little things that the mods included to make the games fun. Now, fast forward a little bit older, PlayStation comes out. Absolutely revolutionary. Before that, there was the Dreamcast that I didn't have, which was well ahead of its time. And that's why it didn't succeed. It was well ahead of its time. But then the PlayStation kind of perfected what the Dreamcast had. And Sega was on the outs at that point. And it was PlayStation. They were the big one. And then Xbox came on its heels. I was never an Xbox guy, even though Xbox had some really cool, like its major innovation. You could play your own, you could upload and play your own music while playing the game. So I would go to my friend's house. I remember we'd be playing Turok. We'd be playing Halo. We'd be listening to fucking Yin Yang Twins say I as we're playing. Like it was really cool. But outside of that, I still always liked the PlayStation. And I remember our parents got it for me. And I don't even think you were born when I first got the PlayStation. Or maybe you were born at that point and just hogging my room. No, you weren't yet. When I first got the PlayStation, you weren't a thing. And I got a demo pack, a little demo disc. And I played the shit out of that before I got any real games. It was like 2 levels of the original Crash Bandicoot, a few rounds of Tekken, Jet Moto was on it. Like, I remember, Dave, the thing is, I'm not a gamer now. I was a gamer then, man.
Yes, I know you were. Believe me, I know you were.
So I remember playing that. And then I eventually got Jet Moto 1 and 2, Mortal Kombat Trilogy. Oh, I can't forget Mortal Kombat on Sega was incredible. The blood and everything caused. You want to talk about Eminem causing controversy? Mortal Kombat caused the original controversy.
The reason why there's an ESRB rating in games.
Yes, is because of Mortal Kombat.
Yes. They got to Sega knows exactly the reason.
Yep.
Because they had the Sub-Zero spine rip.
Yep. Yes, it was. That's exactly it. So we did that. And I remember actually Danny bringing his Sega to Nona and Nono's house one time, playing Mortal Kombat, and all of like the parents seeing it. And like our family was like, oh, that's fucking awesome. Like they didn't care. Like he did like the Kano like laser through it and like all of that. And it was amazing. So I got a bunch of games for PlayStation. Dave, I loved it. Like PlayStation was just, and Adele was great, where she allowed me the freedom to play, but she didn't fuck around. Things needed to be done. But I played a lot. Played Madden, NBA Live, a whole bunch of different games. And I have to say, NBA Live, if you want to talk about soundtracks and games, the first game to have amazing soundtracks was NBA Live. And man, just really, really good. But I mean, David continued. PlayStation 2. I remember getting it over at our house in Lakehurst. Metal Gear Solid 2, officially. Metal Gear becomes my favorite gaming series. But, you know, I'm leaving out so much. There was Need for Speed. There was Grand Theft Auto 3. Arguably started a revolution in gaming.
Yep.
Grand Theft Auto 3 pushed gaming to a whole new level. The open worlds were a thing. We didn't see an open world like Grand Theft Auto 3. You could walk around. You could kill anybody. You could have sex with hookers. And you were working for a mob boss.
Yep.
And and again, I'm in 7th grade, 6th grade, playing Grand Theft Auto 3 and all these games. And I mean, Dave, back then, it was easy to get engrossed in a game. The stories were good. And I keep going back to this. They were difficult. There were very few easy games. You had easy modes, but the games were hard. And PlayStation 2 was the first time I got a hold of God of War. God of War was a whole new level.
So good.
Because God of War was the game. The fighting was already different. If you played Devil May Cry, you were and Ninja Gaiden, you were familiar with the style of gameplay because there was a lot of like chain, but it was different because of the length of the weapon that was used. And the fact that you were walking in and you were pretty damn strong from the get-go. And the combinations with the pressing the buttons, that was brand new. If you wanted to like do like a kill shot, you had to do the buttons at the right time in order for Kratos to do the things.
All the QTEs,
and the QTs. But then also you had the puzzles. God of War had so much going for it. It was a very much a linear game with great fighting mechanics, with a revolutionary style, kind of 3D-esque, you know, QTs, but also the puzzles. Dave, the puzzles were infuriating.
I remember them.
You quite literally would get so fucking pissed and then turn the games off because you'd have to come back to it. Because if not, you were going to break your system. Oh, and let me go back, Dave, because the PlayStation, real quick, Crash Bandicoot and Spyro. You know our sister. Our sister was not a big gamer. Yes, she was. We spent hours together playing Crash Bandicoot and Spyro. And for the main reason, she sucked at boss battles. She was good at playing the game. Awful at boss battles. I would do all the boss battles, but it was something where we played together. And as much as me and my sister, we fought all the time. She was a jerk. She was 4 years older. She was mean to me until I could throw her in the ocean. And then she became semi-nice. But we worked together. She would torture me in Sonic and things like that. But it was fun to do. So we'll keep going. So it kind of, so I'll say this. After the PlayStation 2, it gets a little less because Call of Duty becomes big. Call of Duty was a game for a long time. Battlefield was a game for a long time before that. Nobody gave a fuck about first-person shooters. GoldenEye was it. GoldenEye was the first-person shooter. You had Halo. Halo was a good one. Gears of War came out. Call of Duty comes out.
Gears the third person.
Gears the third person, but Call of Duty comes out and it changes everything. The first person shooter really starts to take over. And the industry becomes first-person shooter, sports games, and then maybe some good adventure fun games. When before that, the whole entire thing was adventure games. Sports games were great. You played them, you had fun, but it was all about adventure games. And they were still there. Don't get me wrong. We had Uncharted, but Tomb Raider was a predecessor to Uncharted. And Tomb Raider is one of the greatest of all times. You had Final Fantasy, which encapsulated and still goes on to this day. But very much now, it's multiplayer, it's shooters, it's sports games. You get your fun other games. And, and PlayStation 3, I was in college when I had PlayStation 3 and stuff.
Yep.
We played a ton of Call of Duty. I played my own games, don't get me wrong, a lot of sports games and things like that, but a ton of Call of Duty. But it's like something changed in gaming. I got a PlayStation 4. I played Skyrim, played the shit out of it. But I bought a lot less games, Dave.
Yep.
And I've said this before. I fell out of love with gaming with loot crates. Loot crates first started to get me away from it. I was never a big fan of buying DLC. You know that. I'm stingy as shit. I just play the game. I'll unlock things. Once you had to sit there and it became unfair. If you weren't paying for things and you wanted to play online, you had to pay in order to compete. If you weren't paying for things or you weren't participating in these loot crates, you were fucked. And to me, that stopped being fun. That grinding out games was part of the fun. Beating a game and going back and completing time trials, doing perfect things. That was a part of the fun. That's all gone. And then the last straw for me was Star Wars Battlefront when they were remaking it. Because I loved Star Wars Battlefront as a kid. One of the greatest Star Wars games of all time.
Battlefront 2.
Battlefront 1 and Knights of the Old Republic were two of the best games of all time, and they were great Star Wars games. Battlefront 2 was huge, and I became very accustomed to not buying games right away anymore. Because I understood devs needed to patch things, especially with online. That's fine. You have some glitches, you fix them. Dave, they sold a not finished broken game. And then they told people they had to pay for the second half again. Full fucking price again. That made me lose faith, Dave. I'm not even kidding. I had my PlayStation 4 set up in my old house. Barely played it after that. Really only went back to Skyrim. Some NBA 2K. And I moved into a new house. It's sitting in the closet right over there, Dave. Sitting there, collecting dust. I haven't moved it. I haven't wanted to. Now, PlayStation 5 has some cool titles. Particularly Dragon Ball Budokai Tenkaichi's coming back. A lot of the fighting games, MK1 you talked about, Street Fighter, all that stuff. That excites me. It seems really good. It might make me buy a PS5. But then again, I don't have time. And I know a lot of people in my generation find time to play their games. That's part of their life. Like their kids understand it, their spouses understand it, things like that. But with podcasting, with all the things I like to do, that's the thing I chose to force out was gaming. And be honest, it's fun to talk about. I like hearing about it, but I don't miss it. I don't miss gaming. It's sad. It was a huge part of my life for a long time. I don't miss gaming. And right now it seems like the AAAs are slowly starting to figure shit out again. They're trying to be better. You have some things like that seem to go left and right, like Baldur's Gate. Everything's trying to fuck you. That's weird. You got Starfield, which has some woke shit in it. Spider-Man has its woke shit, even though Spider-Man is probably like the runaway game of the year, but some of the stuff maybe doesn't.
Baldur's Gate's runaway game of the year.
I think it's going to be close. It'll be close, but yeah, it doesn't make me want to come back yet. There's nothing about this outside of maybe wanting to play Dragon Ball again that makes me want to come back, and it's sad. So that was my history of gaming, kind of truncated.
I like that. I'll go through mine very, very quickly.
Yeah, sorry, I took a long time.
I actually started with the Genesis as well, mainly because that's what we had at the house, and that's what I got used to playing. I remember actually Jeopardy on a Genesis, funny enough.
Yes.
I remember that specifically. But a lot of my gaming history really goes through watching you playing video games. It's no wonder why I'll watch Let's Plays on YouTube because I'm so used to it.
Really quickly, that wasn't for lack of asking David if he wanted to play. David would just prefer to watch.
I prefer
David
watching.
told me, no, it's okay. I'd rather watch. You're good at the games.
So
I would ask David, you want to play? And he'd be like, no, I'm good.
Yeah. I would enjoy just watching the games and watching them being played. But of course, I played a lot myself. I actually, there was once I started playing a lot more. I got my own consoles. I had a GameCube, I had a 360, and actually right after the 360, I went right back to PlayStation.
We played the shit out of that GameCube.
Oh, 100%. Oh, I love the GameCube. I love the 360. Both of them. They were great. Had a lot of fond memories, especially with my friends. I played a fucking Left 4 Dead 2 is one of my favorite games I've ever played. I mean, just how much fun you could have with people just playing through that game. Of course, my favorite franchise is BioShock. Not a surprise why I like a lot of single-player games.
Yep.
But going to now, obviously, I still game a lot, and you've heard it on the podcast before, and I've said it a lot to you, that I mainly play games off the Steam store that are more indie and not AAA. And there are some AAAs which I don't mind either picking up or having some interest in. Like, obviously, I got Mortal Kombat 1.
Yeah.
And I'll play that. But most of them I don't necessarily care too much about. Like, I played the first Spider-Man that came out, and I loved it. I thought it was really good, but I had no real interest in Spider-Man 2 for no exact reason. It just didn't interest me. I've been told to get Baldur's Gate 3. I heard how damn good it was, and I might at one point. But for right now, it doesn't interest me as much as playing some of these other games that you could just find on Steam or you could just find somewhere and just play them. Now, of course, I have a computer now. I have a gaming PC, so I'm not on console as much as I used to be, but I'll shift around to the Switch. I'll still play my PS4 from time to time. And going back to some of the older games, and you really touched on this with what you were talking about, you seem to get more content in the older games than you get in newer ones. Yes. Now, one of the games that actually goes against this, I would say, seems to be Baldur's Gate 3. You seem to get a lot of fucking content in Baldur's Gate 3, which is awesome. I've heard people say they put hours and hours and hours before really even doing like the first couple missions.
It's like D&D and freaking.
Yes, well, it is D&D. Yeah. It is D&D. But that's the thing is that game. That's why I'm saying that game's run away. But a lot of games, a lot of older games, you got complete. Not even just complete games, but you got a ton of side content as well. Because I played a bunch of new games. When they came out with the remastered Crash and Spyro, I 100%ed every single one of those. I went back to them and I played all of them again and I relived.
And they're hard.
Oh, and they're still difficult. Well, Spyro, not so much. But Crash is still fucking difficult, especially the first one. And I love it. And I love every single part of it. I will say this, there is still effort in some big gaming because I'll give Fortnite this. I played Fortnite like the first season. I played a decent amount of it. Not a lot. It wasn't exactly my cup of tea. But Fortnite, they keep putting new things in there. They keep trying new things. They keep putting in effort to do things. I mean, I saw them age restrict skins, which is stupid. Believe me, they make dumb decisions. But they're still trying to put more and more and more into the game until it's a free game, which is awesome. They must get a lot. They definitely get a lot of money from people buying things in there, but it's still a free game and they're still putting a ton of.
You don't have to buy a damn thing to play it.
Exactly. And bringing it up to Battlefront, I never got the first Battlefront. I actually did end up getting the second one on sale.
Really good.
PlayStation.
Battlefront, the first one's really good.
The new ones.
Balls.
The new ones. I ended up getting the second one on sale. Yeah. But the one thing that I recognized missing, and it's a big thing, is the Conquest mode. Yep. Which I remember sitting there with my cousin playing Conquest mode over and over and over again in Battlefront 2. Yep. And now, there's something multiplayer is a ton of fun. I just got done playing multiplayer on my computer before coming on this podcast with a non-AAA game. Yep. But there is something lacking with local couch playing with your friends because those are the days, man. And anytime I'm able to do it, I love doing it. like anytime I could sit down and play a game right next to someone, whether cooperatively or against each other, is always a blast, and I always want to keep doing that. But I got to give it to a lot of newer stuff. I mean, you could see it in a lot of newer games. They learn a lot from these older games, especially the non-AAA devs. They learn a lot, and they put you want to look for complete games, look at those. They'll give you a complete game for not a lot of money. And I love every aspect.
Thank God for Valve making Steam.
Yes.
Honestly.
Yes.
They're incredible.
Honestly. Yeah. But I mean, obviously I went through my history games very, very quickly, very succinctly. Yeah. But yeah, a lot of it was watching. I will say a lot of it was watching. You know, a lot of it was just enjoying time with people. A lot of it was co-op. So I spent with my cousin. I played a lot of co-op games. Yeah. So gaming is always a fun time. I will always recommend it to people. I mean, people do it on their phones now all the time, so they understand. But I don't know, just going through the history of it and going through what it used to be to what it is now is incredible, because now it's a huge industry. It's the biggest industry, entertainment industry by far, by a long shot. Not even close. But the best thing is that I would say the barrier to entry of actually making a game is really not large. It's probably the least amount out of almost any other thing in entertainment, other than maybe writing. But that's about it. So, and I love that, because anyone can make a game, and they could usually make a pretty damn good one. There's plenty of ways to make things, and there's plenty of helpful things that they have online that you could find out how to make a game and make your thing come to life. And who knows, you could, I mean, look at Five Nights at Freddy's. I know it's a bit of a meme, but that was Scott Cawthon's really last attempt at game development. He made the game, and now it got a movie that is the highest grossing in Blumhouse's history.
A spoof on Chuck E. Cheese.
Yes.
A horror spoof on Chuck E. Cheese.
Yes.
Incredible. Incredible stuff. And, you know, when you mentioned like the cooperative aspect of it, one of my best memories is, God, was I a freshman or a sophomore? And I was friends with some of the juniors and seniors. Now, I had the benefit of my sister being fresh out of the school the moment I was a freshman, but we would leave school randomly with some of the juniors and seniors, like 10 of us, go to a friend's house, everyone bring their TVs and their Xboxes, and we would do local Connect Halo-thon.
Do a LAN party.
LAN party. Yeah. And the kids right now listening is like, the fuck is that?
You would connect
all your TVs together, and you would sit there and you would play local through connections of wires. And it was an absolute blast. Now, I suck at first-person shooters. I've never been good at Halo. I suck at Call of Duty. Like, I brought my PlayStation 4 to school and my PlayStation 3 with Call of Duty World at War. And when I tell
Still my favorite Call of Duty.
Easily the best.
Out of all, I'm playing all of them. I love a lot of them. World at War, at least memory-wise, I had the most fun with World at War.
Yes. And the thing is, too, is like, I suck so bad, they wouldn't let me play my own game online because my KD, I would bring down the house KD. So I was that bad. I wasn't allowed to play my own game. So I told them, fuck off. You guys have to buy all the stuff you want. So they would end up buying all the maps and everything, which was funny. But yeah, no, it was. And the thing, too, that pissed me off, I probably would pick up Call of Duty games if they still had campaigns. They got rid of one of the fun parts to me.
They have them, but they're not exactly the greatest.
Which sucks, because one of the fun parts to me was when they would actually like make the war real, right? Put you in a war and you would have to complete missions. Now, were they hard? Not really. They weren't very hard. Did they have dumb stories? Yeah, you'd had some dude like with a bad Russian accent pretending to be like, but it was the purpose of these games was to feel like you're a part of a war. And I get it, like you're playing, like the online stuff is really taken over. But for me, I guess because I suck at online play, I like to play the stories. So for people like me, Call of Duty has no attraction anymore.
Yep.
So I'm not going to go play online for hours at end. Like, that's not my thing. I would much rather pick up Dark Souls, Sekiro, Elden Ring, and just torture myself, but it would be fun.
It's fun ass games.
Why I enjoyed Skyrim, which is why I would enjoy Baldur's Gate, or I love grinding Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy Tactics is arguably the best Final Fantasy game and the best spin-off game of all time as well.
You're gonna have a lot of people mad at you about that.
That's fine, because the game pisses everyone off, as it should.
But it's funny because like when I was in college, especially freshman year, I remember me and my friends, we would just play zombies. And I mean older zombies. We would play Keno. We had played a shit ton of zombies in the common room.
Yeah.
And I remember, and funny enough, I actually kind of felt that whole like local kind of aspect of gaming. I had played Until Dawn, and I had a crowd of people literally watching Until Dawn and invested in the game in the common room, which is one of my favorite experiences, is having people just having fun watching me play a game.
Yeah. And you're good at games. The thing is, I think it's because of your nature of wanting to watch first. and learn it, you become good. Like I've told you forever, you should go into tournaments for fighting games, especially Mortal Kombat.
I don't know about now.
Because you're the weirdo, even now, you're the weirdo that you master all the combos and then you create your own. That is ridiculous.
Yeah,
Nobody creates their own combos.
I don't know about now. Well, I don't know about now. But at MK9, I was something else. But I don't know about now. Either way, I wanted to take this walk down gaming history because I heard some talk about gaming in another podcast I was listening to, and I was like, you know what? This would be fun to talk about. This would be a lot of fun to talk. What was your favorite system you had?
My favorite system, me personally,
yes,
the PlayStation 2.
PlayStation 2
had the most titles I played. And your GameCube.
I was going to say, thinking about it, for me,
loved your GameCube.
It might be the GameCube, which is crazy.
Pokemon Coliseum, my favorite Pokemon game of all time, which we found out was Dragon Quest was behind that.
Dragon Quest devs, yes.
Which makes sense because Dragon Quest is amazing.
Yep.
We had Super Smash. We had Ultimate Ninja Storm. We had so many NFL Blitz, right? Was on
yes, Blitz 2002.
Yep,
Blitz 2002 and Hits 2002.
And Hits 2002. We had a ton of really good GameCube games. So, and I remember, me sitting there hours playing freaking whatchamacallit, Pokemon Coliseum.
Yep. I remember I watched you play that game, which is a fantastic game.
Battle Mountain is incredible and difficult. And it was, and again, Pokemon has kept that. And I know some people get pissed. Some of the games aren't as hard, but Pokemon has kept that difficulty in that grinding out fashion, which is why Pokemon continues to be successful. Because unless you cheat, which people do, but grinding it out's half the fun. And creating a good group, and Pokemon has kept that, and it's been the same game over and over, just different places. But it's fun. And Pokemon was a huge part. Kirby's Dream Land, all these things, Bomberman, all this stuff on the Game Boy. And handhelds now, I mean, what was the last great handheld? The PSP?
I guess technically the Switch. The Switch is a handheld.
It's a console.
It's a console, but it's also a handheld.
I know they're doing the console handheld, and then also PlayStation's doing their stupid PlayStation
Which
handheld.
Which is getting surprisingly good reviews.
But you have to be near the console. You can't leave. It has no online functionality on its own.
Yeah, I don't know.
I guess it's cool. You could just sit on the couch and play and just look down. It's like it's treating you like a phone. But I mean, I used to love the Game Gear was revolutionary, Dave. I don't think people realize how ridiculous the Game Gear was. Where Game Boy was just making a dumber down version of Nintendo games, which were already just 16-bit.
Yep.
The Sega, the Mega Drive was 32-bit.
Yep.
They would bring almost 32 bits of power to a handheld. Now that thing used to get fucking hot. It used to get hot, and you used to have you can get other batteries to put in, but you could play a full Sonic game perfectly on a Game Gear. You could play any game basically that was on the Sega at the time on a Game Gear. That's incredible. They were able to port a full console game onto mobile. I don't think they could do that anymore. I don't think they could do that with the power that they put behind games. And again, so for me, maybe I'm an old fuddy-duddy, but older gaming was superior, which is why you see people going back and you look online. What is it? No one's trying to speed run a new fucking game. They're trying to speed run Streets of Rage. They're trying to speed
Mario 64 speed runs.
Mario 64. And we watched whatchamacallit, what I tell you, Contra, our buddy Stuttering Craig.
Yeah.
One of the first things he did on Side Scrollers when Side Scrollers came back was he speed run freaking Contra, one of the hardest games of all time. And again, there's something to it. There's something to the value of old games and why that, when they bring back these old packages, they sell. Metal Gears, the Metal Gear trilogy.
Oh,
fantastic.
All the old packages sell. I mean, you even have they even had just the little SNES things that recently came out, like the SNES one and the NES one, where you could buy it and you could plug it up to your TV and you had all these old games.
Yep.
I mean, I'm surprised I didn't get it yet, honestly. But yeah. There's something about old gaming, which, I mean, I'll always go back to. And yet again, it's partly because I grew up with it.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think a lot of kids nowadays, if you hand them a Genesis, they'll be like, oh, why would I play some of these?
and then you give them something like Last Battle or Space Harrier, and they're just like, this is really hard.
I loved Aladdin.
Aladdin. Yeah, you threw apples at people.
Yeah.
Fuck those people.
But I do feel like when it comes to, especially even like the PS2 era, there's graphical hurdles that you go back to. You're like, man, that did not look good.
No.
But the fun was always still there.
How do I forget Twisted Metal Black?
Yep.
Again, a game I played forever. A game that, again, everyone, if you play Twisted Metal, put the cheats on. It's damn near impossible.
It's difficult.
Damn near impossible to beat without cheats.
I played it with no cheats. It's not easy.
Damn near impossible. Like getting by Warthog every time is fucking impossible. Okay, but yeah, no, it's something they need to recapture, and I think they're trying. Right, Baldur's Gate's a good step. Things that Bethesda does, and Valve was a beacon for good storytelling and good games, and now they've taken a step back and they're entering into what they're doing with Steam. But
I will say this: there is one developer that keeps getting it right in how to make fun games that people will still love and play. That's Nintendo.
Yes,
Mario Wonder. Mario Wonder is an incredible game. It's a 2D Mario game. So much damn fun. They just remastered Mario RPG, and apparently it's just as good as it was. So, and I mean, Tears of the Kingdom came out this year. Holy shit. Yeah, it's up for Game of the Year. Yep. Tears of the Kingdom, a fantastic game. Even though I haven't played it, I've seen enough.
We need a new Kingdom Hearts.
We did. We got Kingdom Hearts 3 2 years ago. But either way, Nintendo keeps doing these things where Nintendo itself, business practice-wise, not very good. I would say Nintendo in a lot of ways does things wrong. But when it comes to making the games themselves, cherishing their IPs, always coming out with Game of the Year types of games with these IPs, it's incredible. The only ones where I've seen really take a step back is Pokemon, because I think Pokemon Sword and Shield, people did not like that. But then they came back with Arceus and other things, and people were like, hey, it's actually not too bad.
And the thing is, with Nintendo, if you see a Mario game, you're getting Mario. There's no surprises. You see Zelda, you're getting Zelda. You're getting, the only person.
Metroid Dread, which I believe is a year or 2 years ago, apparently fantastic. I never got it yet, but apparently a fantastic game.
And the thing is, if they ever eventually come back with Star Fox, it's going to be Star Fox. Yep. They're not going to do too many, they'll modernize it. They've done a very good job of modernizing their games without losing the characters, without losing what they are and what they do. So, yeah, Nintendo, I mean, there's a reason why it's still around, right?
It's incredible.
It does what it does, and it does it right.
It really is incredible that Nintendo is still around. The Wii helped it. The Wii U didn't help it. Then the Switch really helped it. It's the weirdest gaming company ever. Shouldn't be around by all intents and purposes. But I'm damn happy.
Without the Wii U, you don't have the Switch, because the chance that they took with the Wii U with the handheld aspect of it made it what it is.
Yeah, but I'm damn happy that Nintendo's around. Microsoft's falling off. We'll see what happens.
I mean, Microsoft admitted that they lost the console wars.
Basically.
They admitted that PlayStation outsells them in their third.
Gaming's in an interesting spot. I don't love a lot of AAA titles, but you don't need to love it. That's a good thing about gaming. You don't need to love the AAA titles. You have a lot of ability to get, even if you don't have a gaming PC, on the stores themselves, whether it's PlayStation or Xbox. They have not only usually a ton of old games, but a ton of games that aren't AAA titles that are just as fun to play.
Yep. So my plea, bring back memory cards. So people can experience the frustration of losing or getting a memory card corrupted and losing all of your fucking files on them.
Hate that. I hated that.
It was awful.
That was the worst.
Kids will never, ever, ever understand a memory card. And I want them to. No. They need the torture that we had.
Why give them that pain?
Because they need it. Maybe they'll appreciate the goddamn games more. Anyway, that was a great ending to the episode, Dave. I'm actually pumped that you brought that in here, because that was lots of fun. I
thought it'd be fun.
And God, I missed so many games that I used to play, right? Like, it was so many games like you miss, but then you go back and it was a good time. So for everyone, Dave, any last words before we jump out of here? Episode 100.
No, thank you for listening. If you do listen at all, I appreciate it very much. I hope we're entertaining enough. And if you game at all, if you like any gaming and you actually want to come and talk at all, I will have you on, of course, at any time.
Yeah. So, I second Dave. Thank you so much for listening. 100 episodes deep. Here's to 100 more. And, thank all of our guests. I know we haven't had one in a few weeks, but thanks to all of our guests that have come on.
Yes.
Some of them had no need to come on the show, and they've been fantastic. All of them. We've loved all the conversations. And as Dave said, if you want to come on, if you're listening, jump on the show. We're not too big in our britches. We'll never be. You could just be a person that's a rando. We will find time to have you on, because everyone should have a voice. That's why Dave and I started this, because we want to talk about things, and we're no different than anybody else. Obviously, we haven't made it big because we suck. But anyway, but overall, thank you everyone for listening. We'll obviously be back next week. Hopefully we'll have a guest on, because we do like our guests. So, please give a like, share, follow, subscribe, rate 5 stars, Spotify and iTunes. Spread this word of mouth. Go find us on the socials at the Alex Cuesta Show. Everyone have a happy and safe Thanksgiving. So long, everybody.